stories that people tell me when I go do personal appearances. I had a mother come up to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, "Miss Wallace, I want you to know you're a part of a miracle in my life." Hello, beautiful people. This is Dee Wallace, and you're watching your Superior Self.
Perfection. Miss Dee Wallace, funny how the universe works. It wasn't even a year ago, and I'm watching YouTube videos, and I find you in this interview talking about metaphysics, channeling, and I'm like, I have to have her on the show. I'm like, immediately writing this down, and I make a note of it, forget about it. Obviously, life happens, 3 kids, life. And
I do know.
and then a couple months later, I'm looking and watching at a near death experience podcast, and there's this young lady on there talking about her dark night of the soul, and she's very authentic and she's open to sharing her story. And her name is Gabrielle Stone, and I get her Audible book and I request an interview with her, and we set a date, and she comes on the show, and we had this amazing conversation. But I'm listening to her book, and I find out that you're her mom.
I am, and proud of it, babe.
Yeah. And then we have an amazing conversation, Gabrielle and myself. And at the very end of the interview, I get down on my hands and knees and I say, Gabrielle, please ask your mom. If you do one thing in this world, please ask your mom to come on the show. And
Whoa,
here we are today. Pretty
here we
crazy, right?
are. Here
Funny
we
how
are.
funny how the universe works.
Well, it's funny and it's easy. Once you understand it, it's so easy to communicate with the universe.
Mm. How did this start for you? Like, were you always like this, like open to the universe?
Um, you know, when I was little, I channeled, which all young kids do, by the way. We call it their imaginary friends. Um, but kids get messages all the time until we teach them that it's not okay, or it's just pretend, or they're not really hearing anything. And so, like I think I was 7 or 8, and I was very close to my grandmother. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I went into my mom and I said, "Something's wrong at grandma's house." And so she got up and called, and there was no answer. So God bless my mother, who had to be at work at 7 a.m. She got up and we drove over there, and the cat had gotten up on the stove and turned all the signals on, the lighters on, except they hadn't lit.
Hmm.
So all the gas was coming out. And, who knows if grandma would have been okay or not. But because we went over there, we knew she was okay. Cut to when I was in high school, my father committed suicide. And a couple of nights later, I was laying in my bed, which was, my room was a sun porch. So there were windows on 3 sides. And I was on my side and I looked over into the mirror and there was this bright light. And I thought, oh, I didn't close the curtains. So I got up and closed the curtains, and I looked back and the bright light was still there. And then it left the mirror and kind of hovered in the middle of the room. And I heard my father say to me, button nose, that's what he called me. It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. I'm happy. This was part of my journey. And your job is to go on and live your life be successful, be happy, and just know that I'm okay. And then the light went back to the mirror and poof, left. So I had a lot of experience when I was younger, and then I put them away for a long time. And when I met my husband, Christopher Stone, he was involved in a philosophy called Conceptology, which was a precursor of The Secret and all that stuff. Channeled information that came in during the 30s. And we would go down and study the text and what it meant. And I'm, really putting all this together in a very short story. So, cut to years later when he died, I kind of fell to my knees and I said to God, I don't want to be pissed off and I don't want to be a victim. I want a way we can heal ourselves. Now, that is an example of asking. And in the good book, we know it says ask and ye receive. However, what most people don't understand is that ask in the original Hebrew means claim or demand. This will be delivered to me now. And so, literally seconds later, I got my first downloaded message, which said, use the light within you to heal yourself. And I have been studying that and expanding on that ever since. Somebody called into my Sunday talk show where people can talk to the channel and said, I want to know, when will I ever be there? And the channel said, there's no there to get to. It's just a constant expansion of understanding energy.
The channel. Now, is that what you consider your higher self or source?
All of it.
All of it. And when you
Look,
hear it, is
there's
it
only
like
one
thoughts?
energy, right? We're all one energy. That's all there is energy. We learned that in 5th grade. Everything is energy. So all the information is available to anybody who asks. It's all hanging out right up here. The trick is the greatest challenge is to get the highest understanding of the information that you download.
When did you start trusting that, right? Like when you're
It's a
receiving that,
process.
did you have to
It's a
like set up
process.
tests? Like, did you have to set up like, show me signs, and is that how you confirmed it, or was it just other results?
No, my channel was very clear with me right in the beginning that you had to direct energy. If you don't direct energy, energy will take its direction from social media or your fears, your childhood belief systems, old religious beliefs, anything that will grab its attention. So you have to consciously, and that's the name of my work, is conscious creation. You have to consciously direct energy toward what you want in order for it to manifest in physical form the way you want. So I right off the bat said, look, I don't want to be an empath. I don't want to take on everybody's stuff. I want to be objective and I want to get downloads. And I want to be able to empower people to heal themselves. Right? Because I know that no one can create for another person. You have to create for yourself. You have to take that responsibility. And we we take that responsibility by choosing the thoughts and the feelings and the belief systems that match what we want.
So resonating with that frequency is what attracts it into our reality.
Absolutely. You're like a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not in alignment and don't love yourself enough, why would what you want come to you?
Love ourselves enough. Self-love. Why don't we love ourselves enough?
Because we're taught not to. We're taught from the time we're little that that's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And God doesn't love that. And people don't love that. But, you know, the challenge is that people think power is force. True power is the power of love. Gandhi, Mother Teresa, those are good examples of true power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes a bully or somebody who comes in and tries to force you to believe a certain way or act a certain way or be a certain way. But when we're little, our parents oftentimes exhibit force as opposed to loving power. And we don't like it.
No.
And religion teaches us that we're lowly, that we need to be humble, that God doesn't like us if we're powerful. Now, God never said this. In the good book, you don't see that. God said, these miracles and more will you do also. God said, I want to give you all the desires of your heart. But in the beginning, the popes and the kings got together and said, well, if we let them know that they can create their own lives, where the hell does that leave us? Right?
Yeah.
How can we get the land? How can we get the money if they know that they're the creators of their own lives? So we better come up with something and make them think that they have to go through us and we're the ones responsible for their salvation. It's not true.
Like the one thing that I admire is like you as a mother, and I can relate to you as a parent, but taking these teachings, how do you present that to your children, especially if you come from that background, right? Of like big church, big religion to like being more in an awakened state or connecting with the universe, and like you start thinking, you start
Well,
seeing these patterns.
you know, we were very much church-going Methodists. Now, Methodism is probably the loosest Christian religion you can practice. But we went to church every Sunday. But my mom and dad had a really good balance on life. They had a great sense of humor. I mean, we had a lot of problems. My dad was an alcoholic and ended up committing suicide, and there were a lot of challenges. We were very poor, but there was this individual power that they taught their three kids. And so when I found conceptology, and then I found science of mind, which is not Scientology, it's your thoughts create your life, church. All of this made total sense to me. And so I started studying it. And then I started studying brain science. And I went, well, holy hell, these guys are saying the same thing. You know, the good book says, think only on these things, love, peace, joy. Brain science says whatever you focus on, you create more of,
Mm-hmm.
right? The good book says, as you believe, it's delivered to you. Brain science says your belief system creates your thoughts, which create your life. I'm convinced Christ was teaching brain science in the only words they had back then.
Sure. How did you teach that to Gabrielle?
I really empowered Gabrielle growing up. I can't say it anymore, but every night we would say our claims, affirmations, whatever word you want to put on it. But I am loved. I am loving. I am powerful. I am healthy. I am a good friend. I am joyful. I mean, we would say it every night. She can say it still. She can ream it off to you. And uh, like she was having a big problem with her fourth grade teacher because she was powerful. So she came home one day and she said, Mommy, Mr. So and so sat me under the air conditioner vent. And I told him I was cold and I didn't want to sit there. And he said, Too bad. That's my seat. I went, Gabrielle, let's go in and talk to him about that. So I made an appointment with him and we showed up and he said, You're bringing her into the meeting? I said, Well, it's about her, isn't it? So we went into the meeting because I wanted her to see, first of all, that I respected her as a person and what was important to her. And secondly, how to negotiate with someone. So I said, So, Mr. So and so, you tell us, what's your take on this situation? Well, I told her, and that's the seat you get. And I said, And Gabrielle, how did that make you feel? Can you tell Mr. So and so how that made you feel? And I looked at him and I said, Are you hearing her that she's really cold sitting there? And he said, Well, yes, but that's her seat. I said, Then change it. And he looked at me and he went, All right, I can sit her somewhere else. I said, But you see, that's all she wanted. You could have negotiated this whole thing with her.
Mm-hmm.
But she got to witness that power of not backing down, of stating through love, and I always taught her that, what is important to you and how you feel and what you need in a situation. So she was raised, and a lot of my family said, Oh my God, Dee, you give her too much leeway. You give her too much right. And I said, But you see, she never acts out. I never have a problem with Gabrielle. She never throws temper tantrums because she's listened to, she's respected, right? That doesn't mean I wasn't a parent and taught her when she was acting inappropriately. I did, but not in a way that made her feel lesser than. You
Yeah.
can see that from talking to her, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. She is a very powerful young lady. I mean, I see where she gets it. Like just speaking with you, I can feel your energy. I have three children, and my youngest, oh, she is so powerful. Like
Mm-hmm.
she saves lives just with her smile. Like
Yeah.
going out to the park, saying hi to everyone, and it's just like you can just see the innocence, the power, the
Yeah.
like the her being. She's sharing her being with strangers.
Yeah. She's being love. And love is the most powerful creative tool we have.
Hmm. Creative tool. Self-love, going inward, loving ourselves more. Does that make us more like powerful creators when it comes to creating our
Sure.
reality?
Why would you give yourself something if you don't love yourself?
We do that all the time. Like we
That's, that's who we give everything to, are the people we love.
hmm
And we're usually never on the list.
Sure.
But the more I give me and the more I love me, the more my cup runneth over and I can give to you.
hmm
And I do.
You're giving to me right now, just sharing this space.
Yeah, we're sharing an interaction of love. You bet.
hmm And I'm learning to be in my heart space more, to not be in the analytical mind as much. And
Yeah.
I find myself, it's so weird, D, because like even in interviews sometimes, like I love this space that we're in, and I'll go to the heart space and I'll just sit there and I'll feel the energy of the conversation. And then
Yeah.
it'll be time for me to speak. And I'm totally not in my mind. I'm like, so like I'll totally, it's not that I'm being disrespectful and not listening. It's just that I'm enjoying the physical energy of this conversation so
You
much
bet.
that I lose myself sometimes. Like I don't know if that happens to you
All the time.
at all.
Even when I'm acting.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
I really get in a moment and it takes me over. Sometimes the lines just, I can't find the lines because I'm in such an experience in the moment. That's really magical. And then the lines come. They always
Oh, they always come.
come. Hmm.
Did that happen in ET?
Oh, yeah.
What's the metaphorical meaning behind ET? Like as a small boy, it was one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember opening the package and watching it, but like I just saw it for what it was for me at that age. It was flying bikes, Reese's Pieces, and aliens, right? So, but as an adult and as someone that's actually in the film, what did that film mean to you?
I think it's everything I teach. Keep your heart open, trust, know what you want, and you always get home.
Oh,
It's really very simple.
I love that. You know what part I love, like just looking back on it, like the nostalgia of that
Yeah.
part where it's like I don't know if it's a Friday night or whatever, but they're all playing. I think it's a board game in the
Dungeons and
kitchen.
Dragons.
Yes, they're playing
Yeah.
that, and it's smoky in the room. The young guys on a landline, like with the long cord, they're
Yep.
ordering out pizza. Like that
And
takes me
one of
back.
them tries to touch my butt. Yeah.
That was just like a pivotal. Like I watched it today, and it takes me right back to childhood. And it's like,
Well, it was a slice of life of what was going on then.
yeah,
You know, it was Stephen brought an imaginary world into the real world that everybody could identify with.
mhm,
And the magic of that film is that it reaches into your heart and reminds you of the truth.
mm,
And the stories that people tell me when I go do personal appearances, I had a mother come up to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, Miss Wallace, I want you to know you're a part of a miracle in my life. And I said, really? How so? And she said, my son is 10 years old and autistic, and I had never heard him speak a word. And I took him to see the re-release of E.T. And on the way home, he said every line that E.T. had said in the film.
Wow.
That's miraculous. That surpasses a brain and reaches into a psyche. A young man came up to me and said, you know, I'm from a little town in the South. And when E.T., the summer or the school year before E.T. came out, my mom and dad got divorced. And I was an outcast. Even my best friends wouldn't talk to me. And that summer, E.T. came out, and you were the first single mom. And all of a sudden, it was okay to include me again. I mean, that's the magic of what we do. But it's also really the magic of that movie and why it literally is our Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you got that role, do you think you created that role for yourself, or do you think the universe created it for you?
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The universe's job is to answer what you're in alignment with. So, again, in conceptology, this philosophy, we had made a list of everything we wanted to create. And on my list was a major feature film with a major director, an incredible script, a wonderful part, a film that would serve the world, and a lot of other things. And I just felt love around all of that for a month and a half. And out of the blue, I got a call from my agent that Spielberg's office had just called to offer me the role of the mom in E.T. I had auditioned for Used Cars a year before. But Stephen works very, very far ahead in his projects. And he saw the vulnerability in me that he wanted in Mary. And so I didn't even audition for E.T.
Wow.
And that's how
That's
you
unheard of.
magnetize, you literally magnetize things to you when you're in alignment and harmony with what you want.
When you, I'm just curious, right? So your concepts and your beliefs back then, like how have they changed? Have they changed much since then?
They've expanded. I don't think they've changed, but my understanding has expanded for sure.
In what ways?
Um, well, just experientially understanding that God and I created the trees together. And I use the term creative force because the word God has a lot of negative connotations to a lot of people. So I always refer to the all that is, the everything that is, as energy or the creative force. Now, we were given free will on this plane. So the creative force, God, energy, is waiting for our choice and direction. It cannot intercede with our creation process because we're here to learn that we are the creative forces of ourselves, that we must take responsibility, be clear about what we want, feel love around it, and then partner with the creative force.
Mm-hmm.
But the creative force, energy, has to have direction. Otherwise, it will take its direction from anything that gets its attention.
So that's it. Focused attention on what you want is giving that creative force guidance to where you want to go.
You bet.
And what about like we get so caught up on semantics as far as, oh, I can't word it this way. Like if I say I want, that means I'm
Yeah,
lacking. Like, is that
just
true too?
just feel love around whatever you want. That's the easiest way I can say it.
How do you pull yourself out of like rough spots, rough patches in your life, right? Like you there,
I talk out loud to myself.
yeah.
Uh, like I had an instance on the set a couple of weeks ago, and it really plugged me in. And I went to my room and I went, all right, I call myself Deanna Bowers when I talk to myself like that. Deanna Bowers, this is not going to give you what you want. You're going into the toilet. You're already standing there. You're ready to flush yourself down. Do you want to go down the toilet or do you want to get out and pick a thought and a perspective that's going to give you what you want? By that time, I'm kind of laughing at myself. And I go, yeah, I think I want to get out of the toilet. This isn't where I want to be, right? Another really quick way is just make yourself start laughing.
Mm-hmm.
The point is you want to get out of reaction. When you're in reaction, you're out of creation. When you're in reaction, you can't make the choice to choose a different perspective.
Hmm. It's kind of like fight or flight, right? Like always being in that space.
Absolutely. And most of us live in fight or flight, by the way.
Sure.
And
Sure.
the biggest insight I can give everybody is your little child is running the show, the little you. A child's brain around how they see themselves, how they see the world, and how they see the world seeing them, totally locked into place by 8 years old.
Hmm.
From conception to 8 years old. So whatever you're verbally taught or modeled, you believe that's the way the world works. And then you start building your life on those beliefs. And then 20, 30, 40, you think that's a reality. When
Mm-hmm.
really all it is a belief that the universe has to match.
Yeah, it's like subconscious defense mechanisms that we
Yeah,
put in place.
your little kid thinks they're keeping you safe, but they're really holding you back.
Hmm.
So if you really want to break through anywhere in your life, sit down and write out what you were taught or modeled about that situation
It's
when
tough for
you
me
were little.
because I can't like consciously remember a lot of that. Like I have to go into usually when I go into like altered states of consciousness, whether it's through meditation, like something will come up. Like I'll witness something come up.
Really? Okay. So what did your parents teach you about money when you were little? What did
Uh,
you think about money?
man, this is tough. You had to work hard. You had to work hard to get it.
Yeah, that's what most of us are taught. You have to struggle. You have to work really hard. None
Hmm.
of us want to do that.
You know, it's funny. I used to think bills were when I was a little kid,
Hmm.
and my mom would always say, she would always talk about bills in the mailbox.
Yeah.
And I thought that she was referring to actual little people named Bills in the mailbox, and I was scared to death of the mailbox.
Okay, so you're scared to death of money.
Yeah.
That's that's exactly how it happens. And then because of our religious training, I was taught, well, you never want too much. You should only have what you need to get by.
Hmm.
Then God loves you, then other people love you. Right? So then I get to 30 and I'm starring in the biggest blockbuster of all time, and I got paid a really good salary, and everybody's talking about me, and I go, oh my God, I'm one of them.
Hmm.
Because my grandmother would say, they're the rich people, we're the good people. Well, so what do you do with that then? You know what I did? I pulled way back for a whole year. I went, holy hell, I'm one of them. I don't want to be one of them. I won't be loved. God won't love me. And I had to really start breaking down and looking at all those ridiculous limiting beliefs that the people who loved me meant really well in teaching me, but they were wrong because they were taught wrong.
Hmm.
And now it's up to us. We have to retrain ourselves.
What does the retraining look like?
Retraining, we've talked about it a lot already. What do I want? What do I believe around what I want? If what I believe doesn't match what I want, I am in charge of choosing new beliefs and new feelings about money.
Mm-hmm.
I love money. The more money I make, the more I have to share with my family, to all the charities I love. I can help all my little furry pets that I love so much. You know, I give to Save the Children. I give to St. Jude's. Things that are close to me. I have the money to do that. Money itself has no freaking consciousness. You can put a pile of money on the floor and let it sit there for a month, won't do a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Won't hurt anybody, won't get after everybody, won't make anybody feel bad. It's your consciousness that decides what you do with your money. You know, I love this thing in, it's one of my favorite things in Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. He says, you know, you're walking down the street and you see a homeless guy at the end of the street. And you go, oh, I should give him some. So you reach in your pockets and there's a nickel and there's a $5 bill. And you go, well, can't just give him a nickel. And God, that's a $5 bill. I mean, I may need that. And by that time, you've passed him and you've lost the moment. And it wasn't his moment. It was your moment. It was your moment to experience the abundance that you have. So I give all kinds of money away to the homeless people around here. And it makes me feel really, really good. And you know what? It comes back to me tenfold.
Yeah. I think
Always.
I think yeah, there's two sides to giving. It's you giving the actual gift and then you feeling that love because ultimately you're giving it to yourself anyway. Right?
Well, yeah, if you
It's not
give
a
out
version
of
of you.
guilt, you know, giving out of guilt is not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Giving out of, I just want to share this love with you. So there was this homeless guy at the end of the freeway off ramp, and I rolled down my window and I handed him a 5. And I said, now what are you going to do with this? And he said, I'm just going to smile all day at everybody. It made me so happy. That exchange with him made my day. You know, it's so simple and we make it so hard, guys.
Yeah.
Know what you want. Look at your belief system around it. Change the belief system to match what you want. Feel love around what you want and tell the universe, come on in, create it with me.
I love that.
It's so simple.
You say a lot of this stuff in your I think it's your podcast or your Sunday show.
Yeah.
Is it conscious creation? Is that what it's titled?
Conscious creation. Yeah. You can
Um,
find how to call in on my website. I am dwallace.com. I go through the formula of creation in my new book, Born, Giving Birth to a New You. It's so simple, guys. It's written so anybody can understand it. And it's chapter one, chapter two, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do.
mhm. What I love about your show is like the questions. I feel like
Yeah.
what is the main theme behind the questions that you find? Is it like do you have someone go through the questions before show or do you just
Oh,
kind of
hell no. No, no. And I embrace anybody's question, and all the people that regularly call into my show know that uh, I'm tough love. I'm
you
going to
are tough
tell you
love?
the
I've
truth.
heard you. I've heard you. Like
I,
you could be tough.
I do it with love, and they all know it. And they call in to get the truth. And somebody will say, well, this happened because, and I'll go, no, just stop right there. That's not why it happened. It's not why it happened. My pendulum's going right to no, and then we'll get to why it happened is you have this belief that nobody respects you. I do. I mean, it's crazy and wonderful
Mhm.
to watch the information and how people heal from what comes through.
Sure. How does the pendulum work? I've
Uh,
always wondered that.
well, I'll show you. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so think of this as a telephone. It has no power in its own. And I learned this from a doctor, by the way.
Mhm.
Now, everybody's yes and no and maybe are it goes is going to be different. So I'm not moving my hand at all. Show me my yes. See it start going in a circle?
Mhm.
Show me my no. Goes the opposite way. Show me my maybe. Up and down.
That's crazy.
Okay. Now, the biggest thing you have to start practicing, and the biggest thing is to trust. Your, I always, again, back to the direction of energy. I only want the highest information, the highest knowledge, and the highest understanding. I will not accept anything less. And then I turn it over and connect. All you're doing is connecting with the information up here that's available to everybody.
Mhm.
Anybody can channel, guys.
What kind of questions can you ask? Like, what kind of questions do you ask for yourself? I mean, is it like future projects? Is it like
No,
misunderstanding?
that's more a psychic thing, What the way I phrase my questions is there something I need to get into alignment? Um, to create a more harmonious blah, blah, blah? Is there something I need to get into alignment to create more health and wellness? See, most people, when they're dealing with dis-ease, they want to fix the disease. They want to make themselves better. But from the point of view of brain science, what that does is that makes your brain see the disease.
Mhm.
What you want to create is the state of health and wellness. So give me a question. You have a question? I'll show you. Oh, he says, do I want to go down this lane?
Well,
You have a question about one of your kids.
I do. I want to know, like, I want to know what path I should, like push them towards, right? Like they're
No. See, I say that's the right question. No, because you can't push them toward anything. Your job is to stand back and see what path they want to take and encourage them.
sure. I guess yeah, that's exactly right. Like I get too
So
hands on.
now there's a core belief. This comes from your own childhood, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
being pushed, right? So you don't want to be pushed, and that's what you were modeled. So you're kind of caught in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've you've grown so much that you know that that's not the way, and yet that was what was modeled for you. So the little boy in you keeps going, oh, you better push him. You better help him decide which way to go because it won't be safe in the world if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Safe is the highest word for you. So the core belief is, I have to put my glasses on. This page here. I do not have permission to love who I am.
Oh, wow.
See,
Oh,
and you really want to give them permission to love who they are, to follow their dreams. I'm telling you, I never ever, ever thought that I had anything to say about what Gabrielle, she came out. I'm telling you, every night was watch the dance I choreographed, watch the play I wrote, watch. She was creative from the minute she dropped out.
mm-hmm.
So for me to push her into the safety of science or math would never have worked.
Sure. Well, yeah, you're exactly right.
Trust them. Trust
Trust
them,
them.
sweetheart.
Trust them.
Trust them to know. And then help them with their questions, but trust them to know within they're you have 3 kids. They're all entirely different, aren't they?
Absolutely. 100%.
Entirely different.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, that paper you're looking at, like, what is that?
Um, I call these my sheets. These are well, I think there's 6 now. These are all channeled information.
And you just kind of you find like a key word there, and you go to
No,
this.
I'm told where to go.
You're told where to go.
Yeah. Like they said, go to a core belief, and then I test with my pendulum which core belief.
Sure. Wow, that is accurate, right? Like,
Anybody can learn to do this, guys.
so it's a tool that you use to tap into the higher consciousness or creative
Yes.
force.
Sometimes when I channel and do private sessions, I'll say, am I going to the sheets, a book, a song, a movie, a play? You see, I'm a creative actor. So my channel communicates with me through those means because I understand that creative thing. So an artist, their channel might communicate with them through colors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who's a songwriter. Her channel communicates with her through songs, as mine does, but only as a part of a whole larger thing. So, there's no right or wrong. Yeah, it has to be this way or that way. But again, the greatest challenge is the highest understanding. For example, there was a reader who was quite accurate, who told my husband, Christopher, that she told me, sorry, that I was going to have an affair right in front of my husband. I said, I don't think so. I'll be dead. That summer, I did Annie Get Your Gun, had a love affair with Frank on stage, and my husband was in the audience.
Wow. Wow. So they got a piece of it,
They
right?
got a piece of it. Yeah.
Wow. You know what I really like in listening to is like you have a ton of content and I love listening to it. I love how you're just so colorful in your comments to the callers. One, it's just because it's like me calling in and you're giving us that tough love. But I also love when you went on Dolores Cannon's radio show.
Oh, yeah. Dolores and I were tight. Yeah.
I love her work. Like I'm reading her books now and thinking about becoming a practitioner under that modality. Um, but like to your point about healing, the healing is what Dolores believed was that it was the higher self speaking to us through our bodies, like, and that we needed to look at a different aspect of ourselves, whether it's like our stomach, if we had stomach issues, it's because we couldn't stomach what was going on in our lives. If
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. If you don't clear up in your energy what your challenge is, your body will, it will show up in your body to get your
yeah,
attention.
like your hands, if you can't, if your hands, you're either not letting go of something or something metaphorical like that. But I've never thought about that. I always thought, oh well, it's I never related it to stress. I never related it to anything. It was just like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. That's it. And I have to,
Everything starts within you. You literally are the frequency that creates the weather, that creates politics, that creates your health, that creates your money, everything. Because we're electrical beings. They measure your heart with an electrocardiogram, your brain with an electroencephalogram, because they shoot out electrical signals. So every time you have a feeling or a thought, it shoots out into the universe, which is, guess what?
hmm,
Electromagnetic.
hmm,
So whatever you shoot out, the universe goes, gotta find a match, boom, and sends it back to you. That's why you get caught in the same circles
hmm,
of creation that you don't want,
hmm.
because you don't change your thought and your feeling, and therefore your signal.
And you're creating like you have the same brain patterns, like so you get into the same cycles in your reality. Like
Yeah,
so, in order to get out of that, you have to create new brain circuitry in your
you
brain.
have to choose new thoughts, which train your brain to default to the positive instead of the negative.
Sure, sure. Miss Dee Wallace.
I know it's gone so
I've
fast.
loved every second of this. Like I love having you on the show. I love I love your daughter Gabrielle. I'm
Me
actually going
too.
on her yeah. I'm going on her show tomorrow night.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we're gonna chop it up over there. But
Great.
I can't thank you enough for just coming here and sharing this space and sharing your love with my audience.
Well, thank you. It's always my great joy to spread the truth and hopefully give people the power to create their own freedom. Because
Hmm.
isn't that all? That's what we're all looking for, right? That's all what we're all wishing for. Is
Hmm.
just that freedom of joy and happiness and love. And the good news is it's up to us.
So your website is imdwallace.com.
Yep.
And where else? Do you have YouTube, Instagram, anything like that, or
Oh
just go there?
gosh, yeah. I don't know here. I seriously never can remember it. But yeah, listen, my TED Talk is really good.
I did watch that.
Everybody,
I did
yeah,
watch that.
it's a lot of good information on there. Instagram is at the Dee Wallace. Twitter is at D_Wallace, and Facebook is Dee Wallace.
What are
I don't
you on
know
the
why we
most?
didn't make them all the same stupid thing, but there you go.
What are you on the most? Like what platform?
Uh, Probably Instagram.
Instagram. I agree. I think that's a lot better to use.
Yeah. And I don't go on and post what I'm eating and all that stuff. I just go on when I've really got something special to offer or um, something significant that I want to bring people's attention to that'll help change their lives.
Ooh,